How's it going, my man? Where are you calling in from today?
Salt Lake City, or just south of here in South Jordan.
Beautiful area. I was there a couple summers ago biking around. I'm a big biker. It's such a great bike town.
Yeah, it's very, very popular here for sure.
Everybody's outside there all the time, like carrying boats and bikes, and like no one's inside over there in the summertime.
Yeah. I love outdoor stuff. I'm more of a camping, hiking kind of guy myself, but yeah, absolutely, it's a good place if you enjoy being outdoors.
Yeah, I camp at mostly the hotels, so I'm not a. So tell me a little bit about what prompted you, what inspired you to start your company. Would love to just learn a little bit about your story first off.
So as far as how I got to Lucid, I was actually working with a packaging company called Pack Size. Pack Size does essentially boxes on demand, and just needed a change from there. Had some things that didn't quite work out, but I always performed really well there and always had good numbers. And I had a friend who had been a colleague of mine there, and she came over to Lucid and said, "It's fantastic. You got to check it out." So I did, and got hired on here. So it's been really neat. It's my first SaaS experience. And one thing that I found has been maybe a little bit of a struggle for me is that there's a lot more competitors. With Pack Size, it was very, very, the value prop was really good. I could call and say, hey, we've shown 6-figure ROI for company A, B, and C. With Lucid Press, we're still a little bit new. People don't quite know who we are. So I've struggled a little bit there, and that's really what prompted me to reach out. I used to be a guy who regularly was 15 to 20 SQOs per month. And, here I'm sort of in that 6, 8, 10, which is a little bit below where they want me to be, but a lot below where I want to be.
What do you think that's attributed to, if you had to take a guess?
I'm this guy, right? A white circle in a sea of white circles. I need to be a red X.
Let's talk a little bit about it. So let's actually start with you explaining to me what you do, what your company does.
Okay. I'm going to try to do this because I've seen a couple of these videos that you've done in the past on LinkedIn. I'm going to try to get this right. I know you said no homework.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
That's right. We're sweating bullets here. No, so Lucid Press, we help companies that have diverse marketing departments to keep all their collateral on brand without having to update or do a whole bunch of back and forth edits between their creative team and whoever needs a content marketing. So our verticals, we work in real estate very heavily, higher education. So you can imagine, a company that has, 200 agents. Well, each agent needs collateral, and each one of those agents, is going to need to customize things. So Lucid Press is a platform that allows them to very easily do that. I liken it to the bumper lanes on bowling. Our software allows users to create the content, but they can't go off their brand guidelines. So it kind of locks that stuff out.
Okay. Let me actually hear how this plays itself out, just so I can kind of get a sense again on a cold call. You make cold calls, or you do emails, or do a little bit about you make cold calls?
Both. I do. My sequencing is usually I try at least 5 outbound calls, and then a 5-point touch plan through email. So that's kind of where my strategy is.
And approximately how many conversations? So I'm not really concerned about dials, but I am concerned, or I do want to know about conversations in the course of a given day. And I know it varies week to week. Mm-hmm. In the course of a given day, how many people do you talk to that are the people that you wanted to talk to? So not including gatekeepers and stuff like that, but the actual prospect that you wanted to actually connect with. 3, 5, 7, 2?
5 would be a good average day.
That is a perfect number. How many of those do you convert on a given week? Meaning the conversation turns into an SQL roughly. If you talk to 20 people during the week, you might convert 2, 3, 5, 10, half.
Historically, I just went over my numbers for 2018, and I was about 25% of connected calls became a conversation or booked a demo to take a look at it. And then of course I'm a BDR, so I'm going to pass it over to an account exec and they run the demo. The last probably 3 or 4 weeks, I would say it's maybe closer to 10 to 15%. So I feel like my efficacy, or at least that rate, has gone down a little bit.
Yeah, 25, 30% is good. 10% not so good. What happened there? Do you know, or maybe it's just you had a good week, maybe?
No, it's. I'm not quite sure. I
Okay.
think there's maybe a mindset thing. Like I know that I've got to get my head back in the game where I feel successful. There's been a little bit of that pressure going, here's another one that I know was a good fit. I know they fit the client profile, wasn't able to communicate effectively. And so, I get a lot of, hey, send me an email, real nice blow off kind of responses. And I've been less inclined to really push through some of that stuff. I've had some colleagues that are very good at saying, hey, it's just 15 minutes, it doesn't take that long to learn about it, I tend to be a little less pushy. And so I've taken some of those blow-offs, I think, which has been part of the thing.
I totally get it. Okay, let's just actually hear it, and so I can get a sense. So the people that you typically call are who? Marketing directors or brand people, or?
Yep. Marketing director, marketing manager, brand director, creative. We can start with the designer, but they usually have to then champion it up. So marketing director and manager is usually the best.
Okay, so I'm going to be the marketing manager, and I'm going to pick up the phone, and I just want to kind of hear how it goes a little bit. So, hi, this is Josh, marketing manager over at Acme.
Hey, Josh, this is Cody Clough reaching out from Lucid Press. How are you today?
Good, Cody. How you doing?
Good. Fantastic. Thank you. Hey, Josh, I was directed over to you. Told you're the marketing manager there at Sales DNA, and so you told me that that's correct. I just wanted to reach out to you in regards to Lucid Press because we're a brand templating and content creation platform, and we help other, schools, universities, sales organizations, etc., to create and distribute on-brand content without overloading their central marketing team.
And
so
stop.
I just wanted to.
Let's actually stop there for a second.
Okay.
One more time. And action.
Hi, this is Cody Clough calling from Lucid Press. Is this Josh?
Yeah, this is Josh. How's it going, Cody?
Hey, Josh, I'm doing fantastic. Yourself?
Good. Doing well. Thank you.
Good. Hey, Josh, I was directed over to you and told you're the marketing director there at Sales DNA. Is that right?
Guilty as charged.
Okay, good. Well, Josh, the reason I was calling is Lucid Press is a brand templating and content creation platform. And we help other sales organizations to keep all their agents on brand and distribute marketing collateral without having to send a lot of update and edit requests to a central marketing team. And so I wanted to see if you might have 15 or 20 minutes over the next few weeks that we could set aside time. I'd love to show you a demo of what we do and see if there'd be some value for your group.
That doesn't sound like something I'm interested in at this time, but thank you so much for calling.
Well, can I ask, do you already have a system in place for your marketing? Or how are you?
It's just not something. Yeah, I think we're good, man. But I really appreciate the call.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Okay. So let's work on a couple things that I think are going to really help you quite a bit, actually. Okay. So this is actually really good that we're connected, because I think you're going to make some huge strides. So a couple things, Cody. One, first off, I think it's awesome. I don't even know if you realized that you did this at the beginning of the call, but you're taking full responsibility for not being able to get to your number. A lot of times I'll talk to people and they'll be like, the prospect this, the product this, they'll kind of blame whatever the thing is.
Right.
But kudos to you for taking responsibility, and also kudos for you for reaching out to people like me to see if you can level up, because I'm the same way. I have a coach myself and I'm always looking to improve. So I think that's awesome. One thing I want to talk to you a little bit about, and we'll talk about what this looks like from a script perspective. I'm going to share with you some scripts that are actually in the B to B growth guide, and we're going to change this completely. You definitely sound like a white circle.
Yep.
Right. And so the problem with that is when you sound like a white circle, there's a negative shield that goes up because of the negative experiences we've had with salespeople calling. It's just not that anything's wrong with you or your messaging, but I can't even get to that because it just brings up all this negative stuff. And so we cold call, we got to cold call in a very different way to be able to break that stereotype so that we can actually get a message even heard. And then the second thing we have to do is we have to communicate that message in a very clear, compelling way.
Okay. And
so let's actually talk about both of those things. Let's talk about how you create messages that people care about. So nobody cares about a brand template and content creation platform. People care about a problem you can help them solve in a way that's going to make them more awesome. So let me give you a couple of examples, and then we're going to ratchet this back to Lucid, because this is a really key concept. It's probably the biggest mistake people make when they cold call or when they do emails. So for instance, if I'm selling a product called Unshrink It, this is actually a real product. And what it does is if you put your wool sweater accidentally in the dryer and you wasted $300 and you pour this liquid on it, it brings it back to the normal setting. So if I were to cold call, I would say something like, have you ever put a sweater that's wool in the dryer and had it shrunk by accident?
Right.
Now, if I have a wool sweater and if I've done that, that's a problem I might have. That's a problem. Let me give you another example. Have you ever taken your car to the mechanic to get an oil change and were told you needed a new transmission and you didn't know whether to believe the mechanic, whether he was full of shit or not?
Right.
That's a problem. That happens to be a device that plugs into your car to check to see if the mechanic's lying or telling the truth. Let me give you one more. Have you ever had your hard drive crash and realized that you lost all your pictures and videos of your family?
Yep. Right.
So we have to understand the prospect's world and the specific crispy problem that they're bumping into. When I mean specific and crispy, I don't mean generic.
Right.
And the problem is that you've never done the job.
That's true.
Right. And so what happens is there's a disconnect. You're speaking different languages. You're trying to sound like them, but they know you don't sound like them. They can tell you're an outsider. And so what we need to figure out is how you can be an insider. So we need the problem, and we need to actually use the words that they're using to describe the problem. Let me give you another example to make this crispy. So at Jellyvision, where I ran sales, where I was an SDR, where I was an AE, marketing came out. Hey, we save HR professionals time and money. Hit the phones, and people were like hanging up. It was awful. And finally, I had this epiphany to actually call some customers and interview them. And I would say things like, how did you know you wanted to make a change? And when did you know it was the right time? And what were you struggling with? And then what were you hoping was going to be better? And how'd you know, Jellyvision versus this other thing? And I got this language, and it sounded like this. We wanted to feel less frazzled during open enrollment. And we wanted fewer people banging on our doors, asking us the same questions over and over again about their benefits. That is very different than diverse marketing, cooperation, brand guide, whatever the hell you said, and very different than save HR professionals time and money. So one of the things that I'd like you to consider is to get closer to the customer. And what that could look like is a couple things. You could ask your boss, yeah, I want to be able to set more meetings. And one of the approaches that I'm reading about is to actually talk to some customers.
Right.
And so I would talk to a couple of customers, and I would talk to them a little bit about what was going on in their life that caused them to eventually switch to what they were doing to something else, because switching is a pain in the ass. It must have been really bad. Why not just keep doing what you were doing? How'd you know now was the time? How'd you know? What happened? What happened after you got it? And you're going to get this language. You're going to start to hear the problems. And it's going to sound very different than diverse marketing, content creation, whatever it is that you said. Because your prospects don't talk like that. You talk like that. But I can tell you right now, without even knowing them, they don't talk like that.
Yep.
It's not a problem, and it's not language they would use. The second thing you could do that I did very successfully, I started Google Doc. And every time I heard lingo that was a problem or a struggle, I just put it in the Google Doc. Now, why am I doing this? Because we're going to use this language in our cold call scripts and in our cold emails eventually. But I got to get to the lingo. We're going to take some guesses today. We'll go through some guesses, but nothing that I'm going to be able to come up with is going to be better than actually getting close to the source, which is your customer. Because I've never done the job either. I'm lucky in my job because I've done the job of the people that I'm selling to, but most of the people I coach have never done the job. SDRs come out of college and they're selling to CMOs. They've never done a marketing job before. Now, the second thing you can do is actually shadow a customer. Yeah. I've done that too. Hey, not here to sell you anything. We know you're a customer. We're always trying to improve our software. We'd love to just shadow you, see what you're doing, we'll buy you lunch, and ask you some questions. And so again, this is stuff that you can do to get closer to the problem. You want to see the struggle.
Okay.
So the first thing I want to do actually I want to stop there and see is that making sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I actually experimented with a little script where I tried to really just flip it on its head and ask that question, but it was very direct. And it came across as, hey, I know
we can't ask it like that. Yeah, we can't ask it like we're gonna learn about the phraseology in a second, but let's actually figure out what the problem is first. So what I want to do is go through an exercise where it's like, have you ever?
Okay.
We're going to pretend we're doing an infomercial.
Right,
Never tried it. So this is for a thing called Car Cane, which is for senior citizens that can't get out of the car by themselves. Have you ever tried to get out of the car? You had to push off, or you need somebody to help you up. Your knees hurt. That's a problem. The Car Cane goes on your car and lets you lift up. So I don't want to talk about the solution, but I just want to do this sentence. Have you ever?
So have you ever had someone on your marketing team or within your organization go off and create content that doesn't meet your brand guidelines or material that may not meet brand standards?
What happens when that happens? So when that happens, what happens? Let's say,
Yeah.
So what happens when someone doesn't meet the brand standards and they go off there and do that? So what?
Well, so do you feel like that then hurts your overall brand image and consistency? So that's really where we drive it, is saying, okay, most creative directors have worked very, very hard on their brand and make sure that everything is consistent. So when somebody goes off and goes off brand, not only are they, not representing the organization well, but they sort of, it detracts from the work that the creative team does.
Okay, when we talk about brand image and consistency, is that the language that those marketers know? Like that's very important to them, brand image and consistency?
Yeah, brand consistency is a big driver for us, and that's a big value add as we go through the process.
And why is brand consistency something that keeps them up at night?
Well, a lot of times it's just because they understand the importance of having that consistency.
What's the importance of it? Tell me why it's important.
Well, again, you want all the language and obviously your material to look the same. You want a customer to recognize that they're dealing with a professional organization. You want their customers in turn to say, hey, if I'm reaching out to a school, they look at the website, they look at all the marketing material, that school's all branded correctly and consistently. They're going to feel like that school is ultimately very professional or a good option, as opposed to an organization that may have, their athletics is branded this way, their school business does things differently, and so nothing really looks the same. They may not know, that they're dealing either with the same organization or that organization, is consistent in their delivery of their promise, I guess.
Okay, let's actually pick a vertical, because I know you could probably sell into a lot of different verticals, right?
So I just found out that I'm going to be focusing pretty heavily on real estate.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little, Cody. Focus on what?
Real estate.
Okay.
Agencies, brokerages, title, escrow, mortgage companies.
And the reason I'm going down this route is because, I want to get crispier, right? When I say crispy, I mean specific, so that the prospect feels like you're talking about their specific problem. So I want to talk about this, not so much and again, I think we're still a little generic. Someone in your marketing team goes off brand and standards, and then it's not consistent. Let's talk specifically about real estate. What's the problem specifically happening in real estate? Give me the name of a person. So this would be a solo proprietor, a real estate agent, someone at Caldwell. Like, who exactly is this person? Who's the character? Who's the character in the story?
Not sure where you're driving with this. So if we're talking about a real estate agency, the dynamic that's at play, or the characters, would be the agent. And the agent, for example, they need collateral to, increase their sales.
Who's the person you're selling to? The character is the person we're selling to. Who's the character of our story that we're selling to?
Typically, the marketing director, or the person who's in charge of maintaining that brand image and consistency. So the person who, oversees the website, who oversees, graphic design, marketing, signage, that kind of thing.
Got it. Okay. So we have that character, and she's in she works for a real estate company. Yep. She's responsible for overseeing the website. And what is the big problem that she has specifically in real estate? He or she, I should say.
I'd say she probably 70 to 80% of the time. So I know my market is primarily female. Their problem is either the agents go off and create their own collateral, which doesn't always meet brand guidelines, and they'll say that that's a problem, or their marketing team has to oversee and check every single edit on every single piece for every agent. And some creative teams, they're supporting 100 agents per graphic designer. So then that becomes a huge time investment to do that. We call it either the Wild West, where everybody goes and does what they want, or brand prison, where the creative team checks everything all the time.
I like that.
They spend all their time, checking instead of creating.
I like that. I like those words is because they're like a little emotionally charged. So one of them is the agents are going off and creating their own marketing materials that are not complying to brand standards.
Right.
And the second one is the marketing team is checking the agent's marketing materials to make sure they comply with brand standards.
Yep. Usually we'll find they're in one of two camps, and that's where, we try to figure out which of those camps they're in.
And when the agent goes off and creates their own marketing materials, which doesn't comply to brand standards, what kind of bad things happen as a result of that from a real estate agent perspective?
Well, from the agent perspective, they might not recognize that they're part of a known or recognized agency. From the brand or from the perspective of the character, from the marketing director, they're going to say the same thing. We want to make sure that everybody understands that we're not only, a cohesive team, but that, we have our act together, essentially.
Okay. So let's actually, Okay. So let's actually turn this into a little script, and then we'll massage it a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to try a couple things, but again, this is a problem that's much better starting with than brand template and content creation. Right. So if I'm calling a marketing, and we're going to massage the words, and I got the different ways we can do it. But if I'm calling a marketing director at a real estate company, you pick up the phone, and I'll be you for a second. I'll be the salesperson. You say hello.
Okay. Hello.
Cody, I think you guys have a problem over there.
Really?
You promise not to be mad at me if I tell you?
Sure. Okay.
Let's actually stop there. Now that automatically is a little bit bolder and it's a little bit different because it's a little bit of a different opening. It's a little bit, I don't know if it's you, but it's a little bit different. It's a little playful. You have to deliver it the right way. But that again is a red X, right? So,
okay.
Hey, I don't suppose that your agents are going off the reservation, creating their own materials that don't comply to brand compliance, right? You guys don't have that problem?
Don't have or do have?
Let's go back into the role. Let's go back into the role play. Hey, okay. You pick up.
Hey, hello, this is Cody.
Cody, I think you guys may have a problem.
Really? Okay.
You promise you won't be mad at me if I tell you? Will it be cool?
Yeah. Can I ask who this is?
Yeah. So this is Josh with Lucid, and so I might be wrong here, but are your agents going off the reservation, creating their own marketing materials that don't comply with your brand compliance? I'm assuming you guys don't have that problem. You guys are good that way?
Yeah. We've got it pretty locked down. We have a team that makes sure that they're all, right where they need to be.
Never happens. Never in 1,000 years. Nobody's going off the reservation. You guys are good?
I think we've got it pretty locked down now. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You think?
Well, if they do it, I don't see it.
And off the role play.
Right.
So what'd you notice about my approach versus your approach?
Well, it forced me almost to get into the conversation.
Yes. It forced you to talk very quickly. And what I'm trying to do is figure out if there's any motivation or problem. Because listen, Cody, here's the thing. The purpose of the call isn't to book the meeting. There's going to be plenty of people that are going to have this problem and plenty of people that don't.
Right.
But our job is to be able to ask the right questions. So the next level of this, and we're going to keep talking about this, is what I call the problem finder question. Because oftentimes people don't know about the problems they have. Let me give you an example, and then we'll relate this to Lucid. So I was in the mall. I mean, you may have read this. If you have on my post, excuse me for repeating it, but it's very important. My wife was shopping, and I was just killing some time in the running store. I'm a runner, but I just bought new sneakers a couple months ago. They were fine. If the store associate walked up to me and said, "How are you doing?" I would have said, "Fine." She said, "What brings you in today?" I said, "Nothing." If she would have said, "Can I help you?" I would have said, "No," because I don't have any problem, or at least so I think. But she asked a very smart question. She said, have you ever had your gait checked? And I said, what is that? What are you talking about? What is that? Moments later, I'm on a treadmill in the running store being taped. I have pronated feet. She said, those sneakers are going to ruin your ankles. If you take a long run, you're going to get hurt. As an old Jewish man, I'm concerned. And now all of a sudden, I'm buying $300 pair of sneakers because I didn't know I had a problem.
Right.
So we have to also get really smart about the questions we ask if they're not lighting up initially. Yeah. You were actually lighting up because you used a word that I'm very good at listening to words. I think. I'm sorry, you think? What do you mean by that? Well, I'm not exactly sure. So I would get into that because that's a little bit of, I'm looking for the motivation meter to go a little bit from 0. I start at 0 and I want to see where it gets to on a scale of 1 to 10. So what kind of question might we ask? That's kind of like that gate question, right? So my barbecue is broken. Only one half works, but I'm only cooking for 2, so I'm fine. But when the barbecue guy called, he said, hey, I noticed that only half of your barbecue is working. Have you ever had a propane leak test, which is typically common when you have only one half working? I'm like, what is that? Well, if you have a propane leak problem and you're lighting it with a match like you are, the thing could flare up and burn your face. And here's a picture of what that looks like. Now I'm at an 8. The jacuzzi guy. Hey, I noticed you want me to put a jacuzzi, but I noticed you have a daughter who's 18. Have you considered putting lights around that jacuzzi so you could see what she's doing with her boyfriend at night? These are things that I wasn't thinking about, but all of a sudden I'm like, fuck, dude, that's a problem I didn't know I had. Right. So with Lucid, are there opportunities to be able to ratchet it up? Because it's not enough that we're just finding the problem. Sometimes people will say, yeah, dude, that does happen. Especially when I phrase it like I phrased it. Notice I'm not phrasing it to get a yes. I'm actually phrasing it what I call it's in the negative, right? I'm saying you guys don't have that problem, right? You guys are good because it's just safer.
Yeah.
Because if I say, do you have that problem? Oftentimes they know they're getting led somewhere. So I do it. It's called it's a kind of phrasing the question in like a negative way. So before we get to that, what are some of the questions we can ask that might find a problem they didn't know they even had? Or are there any there for Lucid?
Well, and that's a great question. I've thought about that, and I'm not quite sure how I would go about, typically I'm going to look for, okay, are they going off the reservation? Are they creating this rogue content that we call it? And we could ask that. The other way is saying, then, maybe how do you keep everybody on brand?
Yeah. How do you know everyone's on the reservation?
Right. Well, and so, oftentimes they'll say, well, we have a team that does that. We have an internal team or marketing team that handles all that for us.
Oh, so they're spending all their time doing it. They're kind of like the Wild West. They're making sure they're kind of in brand prison. They're kind of making sure everything's making sure they're on standards. Is that did I hear you right, or is that not the case?
Yeah. Well, they check everything.
Bam. Now we got pain. Because you eliminate that. I'm so glad I called. Then we can kind of transition into the meeting.
Right.
But we can't transition until we get the metal detector to go off.
Right. Yep. And that's been where I found a really tough time, asking, because most of the time they think, well, you're just selling templating. There's several. Well,
because of how you're talking.
Yeah.
We're going to change it now. So I'm going to do it again, and then I want you to be the salesperson. So I'm going to be the salesperson. I want you to hear it again, and I'm going to sing you this recording so you have it.
Okay.
And I'm going to be the salesperson, and then I could also say, if you're not comfortable with that opening that I do, because it's a little, you could say, hey, I was hoping you could help me out for a moment.
Okay.
Hey, Cody, I was on your site, and I got a quick question. You got a sec? I was hoping you could help me out for a moment.
Sure.
You could use that. You could use that as well. Anything's better than what you did before.
Yeah.
Because it's just a little different. Like the "How are you today?" It's just every salesperson uses it. And again, not that your message happened to be bad, but we got to get through that first 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the mall kiosk person. Like, can I rub? Right. And I can't blame them. I'm the same way when the telemarketers call me. Mm-hmm. Like you're the same way. It's like we just, because we've all had lotion rubbed on our hands by the mall kiosk person. So or switched off to it. So actually, I'm going to do it again.
Okay.
And then we're going to switch roles. So you're going to pick up and you're going to say hello.
Hello, this is Cody.
Cody, God, I'm so glad I called you. Dude, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think you got a problem over there.
Why is that?
Do you promise you won't get mad at me if I tell you? Do you promise?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess it depends on the problem, but yeah.
I get it. So my name is Josh with Lucid. Let me ask, I don't know if this is happening with you guys, but do you have real estate agents over there that are like making their own marketing materials? They're coming off their reservation. You have no idea if they're complying with your brand guidelines, which you did such an awesome job and spent so much time making sure everyone would comply to. I don't assume that's a problem for you guys, right? Everything's cool there. Everyone's complying. Everybody, yeah. All 100% of them?
100%. We have it locked down.
How do you know? How do you know everybody's doing it? You have a team of people that are checking. Are you checking it yourself? What's going on over there?
Yeah. I mean, we have a team, and they make sure that they approve every single item before it goes to print.
Your team is approving it one by one, each one. That's awesome. But let me ask you a question. I'm so glad I called. If I could show you a way to do that without putting those people in brand prison so they could be freed up for other things, I don't suppose that's something you'd want to be looking at, is it?
Sure. Might be something.
Okay.
I like that negative. I do like how you ask it, but flip it in a negative way. Well,
also what I'm also doing is, which we have to talk about a lot, and I hope I'm not coming across as too hard on you, Cody, but the tonality, we have to change the tonality too. Did you notice my tonality is, I'm a little more confident. I'm a little more energetic. I'm not, hello, my name is Cody. Not that you are this bad, but you're more, I need a little more like oomph and a little more confidence, because here, dude, you guys have, and you have to, we should kind of back up a little bit. You have to really believe that what you have helps people kick more ass.
Yeah.
Like if you don't really believe, and only you can answer that. If you don't really believe that, if you think this thing that you're selling is kind of like a bullshit thing, and that's why talking to customers is so great, because they'll tell you, man, oh my God, dude, this fucking thing saves my life, dude. Saves me 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know, typically people, your market, what are they spending, like 5-10 hours a week doing that?
At least
5-10. Dude, look, I don't know if this will be a fit. I don't know if we could do business together. I don't want to be assumptive, but if I could show you how to completely take that off their plate so they're spending no hours on that so they have time for other things, I don't suppose that's something you'd even want to take a look at, is it?
Okay, yeah.
So now you're going to be the salesperson, and I'm going to be the prospect, and we're going to role play this again.
Okay.
And again, our intent isn't to book the meeting, because if there's no pain and they're not lighting up, we'll say, thank you, it doesn't look like a fit. And that's it.
Right. Okay.
And then what we do is we go to the next person. We're waving the metal detector across. I'm about to post something, another episode with I Teach My Wife Sales, where we're on the beach and we're watching a guy with the metal detector. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. He only digs when the metal detector, he's not digging all over. He's only digging when the metal detector goes off. It's just like cold calling. But the problem we get into is we assume that everybody we call has this problem, and they don't.
Yeah.
They have to tell us they have the problem. We're working too hard as salespeople.
That makes sense.
They'll tell us if they have the problem. We have to listen really carefully to words like I think. That's a great word. I'm not sure. Like those I'm sorry, you're not sure? You think? We got to kind of get in there. But let's flip it. So I'm going to pick up. Hi, this is Josh with Acme.
Hi, Josh. This is Cody Clough calling from Lucid Press. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Josh, but I think you guys might have a problem over there.
What do you mean?
Well, you promised not to get mad if I tell you about it.
Sure.
Okay. So I know you've got a lot of agents there at Sales DNA Real Estate Agency, and I don't suppose your agents are going off the wagon and really creating content that doesn't meet the brand guidelines that you've set up. That's not a problem for you, is it?
I don't think so. I think we got that pretty much covered. Yeah, I think we do. Yeah.
Well, what do you mean when you say you don't think so? Do you know for sure? Is that something that you've ever seen before?
Okay, I want you to pause there. I just want you to say, I'm sorry, I don't think so.
Okay.
What
sorry,
do you mean?
Don't think so?
Yeah. I think we have a team of people that are making sure that stuff is compliant. So we're good.
Okay. How do those people make sure that it's compliant? What's that process look like?
I don't like that question. I don't care right now. I just care that they're spending time on it. What are they spending? 15, 20 hours a week on that? 10? Most of the people I speak to that are doing that, spending a bunch of time doing that. I don't want to know the detailed process we just met. I just want to get to the pain. I don't need to know about how they're doing things. I need to know about the time. Most of the people that I speak with that are checking the brand standards, that way they're spending, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a week. Is that the case for you guys? Are they spending less? They only doing it in like 5 minutes? Maybe not sure.
Okay.
And then we kind of go into, so glad I called. What we do in one sentence, we can what we do in one sentence is, we take that burden completely off your plate.
So on that second one, so I like the first question where we get to, I don't suppose they're going off the wagon. You don't have that problem, do you? And
right.
Then, I would bet oftentimes you're going to get, no, that happens quite often.
So let's just role play it. So you say, go ahead, say that happens quite often.
Okay. So if it does happen, I don't know. Shoot. Sorry, Josh, let me back up here for a second. So if it does happen, I say, well, so then if I could show you a solution.
No, if they say it does happen, you're not going to do that.
Okay.
You're going to say that. You're going to say this. Tell me more.
Okay, that's great. Well, I'm glad that I called. So if I could show you a solution that would help make sure that
don't use the word solution because it sounds salesy. If I could show you how.
Okay, show you how. So if I could show you how to make sure that all of your agents are on brand and none of them create rogue content, and we can keep it so that you don't have as many edit requests for your marketing team, that wouldn't be something that would be of interest to you, would it?
I don't suppose that would be interesting to you. You got it. Now we have to work a lot on your tonality, Cody, because the words, believe it or not, and you're picking up the words very fast. And I know this is all new stuff to you, but really the words are, as crazy as this sounds, like 20% of it.
Right.
The tonality is really, and this is like, sales is weird, right? Because if we wanted to get better at, basketball or tennis, we'd practice a ton. We'd role play. Like if you and I were working together, we would role play this. Like with my coach, I've been role playing this stuff for 5 or 6 years. So you're like, wow, you sound pretty smooth. Because I've been role playing it I've been hitting a lot of forehands. So that when I get on the court, I know all the objections. I know where it's going to go. I don't like to have a script in front of me. I like to stay loose. But what salespeople do, which is weird to me, is they practice on their prospects.
Right.
It's like Michael Jordan. The reason he looks so awesome out there is because the game is kind of easy because he's been practicing that free throw 10,000 times. Like you watch these guys, like how that, but they're doing like Serena Williams. So a lot of this is going to be, there's no easy button. You have to practice it like guitar. I don't know. You play sports, you play music.
No, not I. Certainly video games. I play a lot of video games.
To get good at video games, what do you have to do? You have to play them a lot.
Right.
You got to master the motor skills, the twitch motion. Like you don't just get on there and win. It's the same thing with this, man. Whether you role play with me or you find someone at your company, you got to just role play it. And then eventually when you get people on the phone and you bring the right energy, it's going to start to click. But So it's going to feel, and I want you to get comfortable with the suck because it's going to feel really uncomfortable. It's like going down and learning how to snowboard for the first time. You're going to fall on your ass. It's going to suck. You're going to get black and blue, but you got to go through that. When you were playing video games, I'm sure you weren't able to get to a certain level at the beginning.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you have to it takes time. So be patient with yourself when we're doing this, but let's actually try it again from the beginning. We'll do a couple more times through. So, hi, this is Josh with Acme.
Hey, Josh. This is Cody Clough calling from Lucid Press. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Josh, but I think you guys might have a problem.
I don't want to say bearer of bad news. I just want to say I think you got a problem.
Okay. All right. So, hey, Josh,
go ahead.
I think you guys might have a problem over there.
Well, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, do you promise you won't get mad at me for bringing it to your attention?
Sure, Cody. Sure.
All right. Well, Josh, I don't suppose that your agents are going off the wagon and creating content that doesn't meet the brand standards that you set up and obviously worked so hard to maintain. That's not happening, is it?
Yeah, some of them do, but most of them are pretty okay, I guess.
What do you mean, you guess?
I mean, I don't know exactly. No, I mean, some of them are creating some content and we're not exactly sure, what they're doing. But we check it And so it's never really a problem because nothing actually gets released without me, looking at it.
Ah, okay. So ultimately, then you have to check every piece before it goes out to approve it.
I do. Yeah, I'm checking.
Okay. So most people that I talk to are spending at least 5 or 10 hours a week checking and editing and revising. Is that the case for you? Do you do more than that, less than that?
So more than that takes you like 2 seconds. Yeah, it's probably taking me like 5 or 6 hours a week to do that.
Okay. Well, Josh, I'm really glad that I called. If I could show you how to reduce that to 0 hours a week and make sure that everything was on brand so that you knew they couldn't go off brand, that wouldn't be of interest to you, would it?
Can you send me some information?
Sure, I'd be happy to send you some information. Did you want some product specs? Do you want some technical briefings? Josh's
product
smoothie recipe?
Yeah, product specs would be good.
Okay. So where do you go from that one? I saw that one.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because here's the interesting thing, Cody. This is another thing I do at my workshop. We got 300 people in the room, you imagine. And I take out a stack of math multiplication cards that we used to do when we were in elementary school. And I said, okay, everyone, I'm going to throw up a card, and I want you to shout out the answer really fast. 6 times 5, 30. 5 times 5, 25. 4 times 3, 12. Send me some information. And the ghosts, they're like, deer in the headlights. I'm like, why is that? That objection comes up all the time. Like, there's only 6 that come up, and we should be able to respond. So if we flip that around, I'm not going to say to somebody, where do I go from there? Because I've done the 6 times 5 50,000 times, right? So let's actually flip it around. So you say, send me some information.
Yeah, can you send me some information? I'm kind of busy. I'm going into a meeting.
That's not a problem. More than happy to send you some information, Cody. Just so to make sure that I send you the right information. Would it make sense if you and I had a conversation so I could learn a bit more about what you're struggling with, and that way I can send you the information that makes the most sense and I'm not doing you a disservice? Is that something you'd be open to? I know you're running out now, but maybe at a later date. Would that be okay with you? Would that be fair?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Call me on Tuesday.
Right. So then we book a meeting.
Right.
So that's the idea with the objection one, is to lean into it. But what I'm not going to do is just send the information, right? Because that's probably a brush off. Now, one of 2 things is going to happen. So when someone says, I want to send you some information, it really means one of 2 things. What do you think it means?
They're interested or they're not.
And that's right. They're really interested, or they're just trying to get you off the phone, which again is a natural reaction to salespeople. So what we want to do is we want to understand if it's a brush off or it's the truth. And we want to do it in a way that's not creating pressure. So the language I use, would you be open to? Would it make sense? This is very purposeful phraseology because it puts the prospect in control. And when the prospect feels that they're in control, then they don't feel the pressure. Now, if they said, just send me any information, then I will usually say, look, usually when people want me to just send them information, they know I'm just such a delicate flower. They don't want to hurt my feelings and break up with me. It's over between us, right? Would you like to fire me right now? I could take it. It's really a no, right? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an adult-to-adult conversation with someone. I'm going to try to bring the truth out, because the last thing that I want to do is send information to somebody that's at a 2.
Right.
Because every minute I waste on somebody is a minute I'm not serving somebody else. And again, I'm not blaming the prospect. This is just through years and years and years of abuse by salespeople. And we've gotten to this point. And so we have to take it is the way it is. My mission is to change that, but I'm only one man. And people have had this baggage for 15 years. So we just have to expect it and know that it's coming. So let's role play that. So I'll do it again, just so you can hear it. Say, send me some information.
So can you just send me some information via email?
Yeah, that's not a problem. Hey, Cody, would it make sense if I just asked you a couple of questions, learned a little bit more about your problems? That way I could send you some information that's that's most relevant and not wasting your time. Is that something you'd be open to? I know not now, but maybe at some point in the future. Does that sound fair? You kind of get that's the idea. Right? So I don't do you a disservice. Cody, the last thing I want to do is do you a disservice. I like that word. Do you a disservice by sending you information that's not relevant. It's the last thing. Would it be okay? Would it make sense? Would you be open to having a dialogue so I can better understand what you're bumping into, and that way I could send you the information that's most relevant. Not for now. I know you're running out, but maybe at some point in the future. Oh, just send me anything. Typically, when I hear that, people just don't want to hurt my feelings. It's usually a no. I'm a delicate flower. I could take it. It's over between us, right? You want to break up with me now? You could tell me. So just hang up the phone.
Okay.
So now you try it. Hey, Cody, send me some information.
Okay. Well, I can definitely.
So the first words out of your mouth whenever you hear an objection, there's a lot of these, but the one I want you to memorize right now, these are called diffusers, and I got 15 of them. But the one I want you to memorize is that's not a problem. So just memorize that. Anytime you hear an objection from now on, that's the first words out of your mouth. Your price is too high. That's not a problem. Send me some information. It's not a problem. I need to talk to my boss. Not a problem. I need some references. That's not a problem. You might not know what to do after, but just just if you did that in a calm way, that's just going to diffuse things, right? So tell me, say to me, I need to talk to my boss.
I'd have to talk to my boss before we could set something up.
That's not a problem. I need to talk to my boss too. She's my wife. Jenna, can you come in here? My boss said it's okay that we keep talking. No, Cody, let me just ask you. So that's kind of what I would do. It usually gets a laugh. Take your boss out of the equation, Cody. Pretend you're the boss. What would you say? So you see how I know these automatic. These just come to me, right? So let's just work on the information one, and you're going to start with that's not a problem. Would it make sense? That's going to be the next phrase I want you to use.
Okay.
So prospect says, "Can you send me some information?" That's not a problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Josh, would it make sense for us to have a quick conversation? I know you said you're busy right now, but maybe sometime here in the next little bit, so that I could better understand your current process, your operation, and then that way I can send you information that's relevant and not do you a disservice by just spamming you.
Is that something you'd be open to? And then uptone at the end. That's exactly it. You could probably tighten that up a little bit, but you have the idea. Remember, Cody, we're going down the mountain for the first time. You're going to be wobbly. You have what's good about you right now is you got the idea.
Yep.
You got the high level idea here. So if we were working together, what I would do now is we'd actually make some cold calls, like together. That's what separates me from, I think, every other coach out there, I believe, where I don't just do the training. We actually make the calls together.
Right.
Like you'll just start dialing, and then I'll do some calls. And we'll just do that for our hour and a half call block, whatever it is. But role play, we can work together again if you want to do another hour. You can buy an hour. We can do some role play. You can do it with people at your office. But I can't stress enough the importance of the practice, because otherwise, what ends up happening is you might be burning opportunities on your prospects.
I believe that's happened more than once.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you kind of the best analogy, and this is why I really reached out, and I appreciate your time today, Josh. When I was younger, I sort of decided I wanted to learn golf. I knew that people do golf, and that's an important kind of social thing, and a lot of meetings take place on the golf course. So I went down to the driving range, and I started hitting buckets of balls. Had my dad's clubs and just whacked the ball. And every single time I'm hooking, I'm slicing, it never goes down straight. And I finally talked to my dad. I'm like, Dad, what can you help me? You hit pretty good. You're have a 4 or 5 handicap. And he says, nope, you need to go get an instructor, because if you practice the same swing wrong 1,000 times, now you have wrong muscle memory. I have wrong muscle memory, and I get it. So now that I have right muscle memory, I'm totally on board to lean in and say, yeah, I need to take some time and say this in a way that it's me, and not just spilling out of my mouth because I typed it for the first time 20 minutes ago.
That is a phenomenal analogy. I had the same exact issue with swimming. I'm learning how to be a better swimmer. And now I have a coach, and I was in the pool 3 days ago, and he's like, dude, your head is like this and you're creating too much drag. He took my head. But when I swam, it kept going up, and he kept pushing it down. But after 15 times of him watching it and pushing it down, all of a sudden I started to get more like this instead of like this. And when you're like this, you're slower. When you're like this, you're faster. But you're exactly right, dude. I'm glad you have that epiphany. And so many salespeople don't do this. It's bizarre to me. Because if you can get good at this, you can make an unlimited amount of money. I mean, sales is the $1 million. Like, if you can get good on the phones, I've made all my money on the phone. Yeah. Social, whatever, dude. All this stuff, dude. Like, if you can get someone on the phone, it's still the best, dude. There's nothing better.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and Lucid is such a great vehicle. It's by far the best vehicle I've ever had. You know, it's the next big breakout on the Silicon Slopes, and it just feel like it's something that I want to make the best use of the opportunity. So awesome. I am eager to learn and hungry to get better at this.
Well, what I'll do, Cody, is I'm going to send you this recording so you have it.
Okay.
See if you can practice it. Let me know how it goes. See how it feels, but just keep in mind, be patient with yourself. Like with the golf, the video games, whatever you're into, it's just going to take some time, and you will get it, man. I think you've kind of got the ideas. It's like anything. It just takes the correct practice.
Right. Okay. Well, and so going through the badass playbook as well, any plays in there that you think would be more relevant or that I should spend a little more time focusing?
I think the cold call play, I can't remember, it's 62 or 63. I think the cold call play where I have like 4 or 5 different scripts. Try those out. There's some objection stuff back there as well. Those was what I would concentrate. The Badass B2B Growth Guide's awesome, but sometimes people get overwhelmed by it. I would just focus on the cold calling stuff.
Yeah.
It's my best stuff for 15 years, and I'm constantly adding stuff. That's helped me become a multi-million-dollar producer and a millionaire myself. And it's also helped my clients. And I just put my best stuff in there. But the negative thing about it is, and I talk to people about it, it's just like they're like, it's too much stuff. So I would just concentrate on getting really good and go deep on the phones. And just try to forget. The other stuff is cool and you can glance through it or whatever. We could talk about it. But emails, you can incorporate this problem stuff. Stop talking about your content, whatever that stuff was, and just talk about the problem.
Okay. Last question that I had for you is, what's your thoughts on social proof? I've heard some people that feel like social proof is great if you can name check 5, 6, 7 organizations.
Yeah. So I'm working with a realtor now. Let me give you some context. Actually, the script is actually in the Badass B2B Growth Guide, but I'll give you some context. So this person, what they do, the problem that real estate agents have, the number one problem a real estate agent has is, what do you think?
They want more business.
they want more listings. They want more listings. Right. And so in order to get listings, one of the things they do is they pick up the phone and they dial expired listings, or they have teams of people that are doing it. And that's a pain in the ass and very time consuming. So what this company does, like what you do, is they take that completely off the real estate agent's plate and they cold call on their behalf for less money. And they're very effective cold callers. So that's their before and after, if you will. So when they call, they'll say something like this: we recently helped a realtor up the street book 20% more listings without having to pick up the phone. I don't suppose that's something you'd be interested in learning about?
Wow.
Now, if you're a real estate agent, you're probably not going to they're probably not going to hang up the phone on you. No, I got that covered. Really, what are you doing? And then we can kind of go into it a little bit either way, but so that's third-party proof, right? I helped this agent up the street selling the same kind of houses in the Shandong neighborhood. We recently helped them get 20% more listings without them having to pick up the phone or use their inside people to pick up the phone to call expired listings. I don't suppose that's something you'd be interested in. You guys are covered there, right? I should just hang up the phone? No, what do you mean? And when I say I should just hang up the phone, it's almost like when you try to break up with someone, they're like, no, not so fast. Right. So those guys, and you can see this on my LinkedIn feed, actually, because I recorded, because he called me up and I happened to be in the car. I had my wife tape it, and he never cold called before. He called 10 people. He got one connect. That one connect booked a meeting and they closed the business. That's on my LinkedIn feed. So you can actually see that guy talking, not my words, his words. And that script is in the Badass B2B Growth Guide toward the end. Like, start at the 60s and go down. I don't remember the exact play. It's where the cold calls are. Maybe in the look for go to do a find and do cold call.
Yeah. Okay.
You'll find it. It's actually, the script is actually in there.
Yeah, I've gotten down to about 40 just reading, but it sounds like I probably want to get to the end.
That's just go to Control F and type in cold call, and it'll zip right down to the play.
Okay.
What I'm going to do, someone recommended this, which is awesome. In Google Docs, you can actually create headings. So like cold calling plays, email, like just break it up into sections. Because right now everything's just one big long laundry list, which wasn't a problem when there were 15 or 20 plays. But now we're closing in on 100. I'm going to have 70 by the end of the week. And you're lucky you got in now, dude, because the price goes up every 10 plays. There were some people that were with me when it was $25 when I had like 5 plays.
Yeah.
And so I have close to 70 now. I got to put like some headings. So I'm going to make it easier for you. I'm also going to be putting in my cold calls. I got a couple of them that I'm going to actually put into the Google Doc. I have to redact some names and stuff, but that's going to also help because you can hear it.
Okay. But Josh, I like it. I feel like I've got a good bunch of information to process and create a system around this. So,
all right. Hey, and thank you so much for buying the guide, man. I know there's so much stuff out there competing for your time and attention and dollars, and I really appreciate you investing in this program.
Well, I appreciate you offering the content because, in all honesty, it was your content. It was your teaching my wife how to sell, all that stuff that really made me say, okay, this is somebody that I feel like I, at least can get on the same page with, and obviously has a different approach, So here's hoping to become a red X instead of a white circle.
I love it. Let me ask you a question. If I can use this part for my little testimonial, can I do that? Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
All right. So Cody recently bought the Badass B2B Growth Guide. Cody, there's lots of stuff that you could have bought. What was it that attracted you to me initially and ultimately the guide? Walk me through the story.
Well, so again, kind of going through the story, I appreciated the content that you shared through LinkedIn and other channels that was for free. I felt like that content was fantastic. And because I felt like I could connect with sort of the way that you do it and wanting to be effective without being gross or pushy, that was really what drove me to it. So
was it really my wife though? Did you really, it was my wife, right?
Let's say yes, for her sake, if she's listening. I think you said she's over there last time. So yeah, it was definitely your wife.
All right. Thanks, Cody. And
it's not the receding hairline.
Sounds good. All right, man. Have a good one, boss. And I'll send you this recording.
Sounds good. Thanks, Josh.
All right, Cody, take care.